Welcome to After Sex Ed with Sabrina. I've got Lee here of Pretty with Lee. She is
Yeah.
a TikTok, Instagram sensation. Right now, I just looked at your specs. You've got like 59,000 followers on Instagram. You've
Uh-huh.
got like 1.8 or 1.9 million followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
And she talks about sex. You talk about sex basically the whole
Uh-huh.
time.
Yeah,
And I
that's
had
my
to have
whole
you
niche.
on.
That's my whole niche, the sex talk.
Yeah. But like I want to like talk to you about like kind of why you started it, and like you do have this like interesting like niche because from what I can see it's like skincare, makeup, sex talk. And it's like how did that happen? Because in some of your like most famous videos you're just like doing your makeup and then you're like, "So, let's talk about semen."
Yeah. Okay. Okay, backstory is that I've always wanted to be a makeup influencer, beauty blogger,
Mhm.
like this girl that just goes on YouTube and talks about the latest product. So I
Yeah.
did try that. And I
Mhm.
tried it for a long, long time, maybe
Yeah.
like 6 years, 5 years. And I was like really like heavy on it. I just thought that it was gonna be my dream. That was my dream job.
Yeah.
And then I got pregnant, had my daughter,
Mhm.
and then I'm
Congrats.
like still raising her and trying to do this, trying to do that. And
Yeah.
then TikTok, my manager was like, "You have to get on TikTok." She's
Yeah.
like, "Maybe, bring your makeup tutorials there." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna try." And then I noticed like this is it's not hitting. Like it's
Mm.
not like the makeup,
Yeah.
something is just not there. I don't know if it's just oversaturated.
Yeah.
And then I don't even know what happened. This was during COVID, like when kids weren't in school.
Mhm.
And I was just like, you know what? Let me just talk about my pregnancy. Let me just talk about
Yeah.
after I gave birth. I literally said, what I think the first vibe this was my first viral video that I did on TikTok. I was like, things no one tells you after you give birth or while
Mhm.
you're in labor, something like that. And I was
Mhm.
like, your vagina rips.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
vagina rips and you bleed consistently. Like I bled for almost a whole month.
Yeah.
And then when I posted that video, it was like a lot of kids, I guess because it was COVID, they weren't going to school, no sex
Mhm.
educators, no
Mhm.
sex, like not sex educators, but no sex education in school.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're like, how do you get pregnant? Like how do
Aw.
you like how do you prevent this from happening? Like
Mhm.
how can I have sex safely? And then
Mhm.
I just started doing these videos, but I wasn't like really doing it that much.
Mhm.
But then I noticed this was what they wanted. So I was like, okay, how can I tie the makeup and skincare? Because I still love my makeup. I still love my skincare.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Let me start really reading about sex. Let me just
Yeah.
start getting to know these things. And then what's so crazy was that when I was young, not when I was young, but when I was a teenager, well, a lot of my friends got pregnant at a young age.
Mhm.
And we were like, we would always sit in the lunchroom table and always talk about sex. And I
Yeah.
always remember this thing that a lot of us, we were like, oh, I think vaginas are so ugly. Like they're just
Yeah.
really ugly. So I
Yeah.
stood with that in my head and I was like,
Yeah.
what? Vaginas are ugly. And then
Yeah.
after I started reading about all these things about vaginas, I was like, oh no, they're not. They're
Yeah.
like the vagina is like the most powerful thing. It's crazy. And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
whoa, like how did I let people influence me to tell me that vagina, penises,
Mhm.
everything like
Mhm.
down there is nasty.
Yeah.
That's what was in my brain ever since then.
So many things I want to say there. I didn't know we were going to go in that direction about postpartum, but like, yeah.
Yeah.
You realize really quickly how desperate people are for like honest talk. Like the
Hmm.
second you're honest and you're like authentic, people just jump in and they're like,
Yeah.
What? Tell me more." Especially about sex and especially on like social media, which is like saturated, like you're saying, with a lot of like fake glossy,
Yeah.
like I think what really upset me postpartum, because I have a 4-year-old too, we were talking about
Hmm.
it, was like all these like fit mommy accounts and
Oh
how I
yeah,
was like,
I tried being that mommy and I couldn't. I was like,
no.
what? I tried doing it with my daughter and I was like, how do they do it? Like, how do they? what's the secret? And then
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe they have like a I don't know, photographer around them 24/7,
Or
but
they
it's
have a
hard.
personal trainer, they have a
Yeah,
nanny, they have a chef, like,
yeah,
they have all the stuff. Like, at one point I realized, like, I'm trying to make going for a walk or something a priority,
mhm,
like, twice or 3 times a week, but, like, for you to look that way, like, I'm not shaming women, some women bounce back fast, that's fine.
yeah,
But, like, for, for some people to have the time and
mhm,
flexibility to do it means, like, you've got a lot of help. Like, that's
yeah,
how I saw it. Like, you got a lot of support if you're able to go to the gym for a couple hours a day.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I couldn't
Oh my
do
god.
anything. I wasn't sleeping.
Oh my god. So when I got pregnant and I told my mom, I remember I was so scared. I mean, at that age, I was like 20, 22, 23.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then when I gave birth to my daughter, because my mom also had her first kid actually when she was only 14 or 15.
Oh, wow.
So, yes, so she
Mhm.
really didn't know much about sex. Obviously, at that age, nobody really spoke to her.
Yeah.
So, when I gave birth to my daughter, it was kind of like her wanting to help me because she felt like I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, how, like, this is so hard because I'm trying to raise my daughter, but you're trying to raise her with me too.
Oh my gosh. She means
Yeah.
well, but I
Yeah, she
mean.
means well,
Yeah.
but then, like, when I used to wanna go out somewhere, it was like, "No, you have to watch your daughter." So I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
"Oh, this is hard." Like, weren't you just, like, all helping me? Now that I wanna go out,
Yeah.
it's really hard, like, you're trying to live your life, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
oh,
Oh my god,
man.
this is totally like a postpartum thing. I didn't even know we were talking about this. But I could talk about
Yeah.
postpartum sexuality, postpartum body stuff, what you're not told. Like, I wanted to talk about clitoris stuff, but let's just start talking genital image. How about
You
that?
okay, yeah, yeah.
Whatever. Like, is and anything is fair game. You don't really care.
Yeah,
If
well,
you
let's
don't
just
want to talk, you tell me. I'm not
I can
comfortable.
talk about anything, I'm very
Yeah.
open. Wherever this
Okay.
wants to go.
Yeah. But like the vaginas, like when you were saying, when we were kids and we were in high school, man, there's like so many things I want to say about that. Like, you get
Yeah,
told like they're gross, they're ugly, they smell, whatever. And we did this like unit on gen and so I'm in grad school studying sexual health. I
mhm.
think I mentioned that to you.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, so I'm studying it, and one of our units was on genital image and how
Mhm.
like who's more insecure, women or men. And I thought for sure it was men, for
And it
sure
was
about their
women?
size, and it was women, and it was like
Yeah,
smell, it was hair too, like
yeah,
odor,
that's a big
hair.
thing.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? Why did I think it was men? Like, for sure, men have insecurities about their size. I can see that, but like,
I
I
don't
don't even think I ever like this like I'm seeing stuff on Instagram now and
Mhm.
like, all vulvas are beautiful. Like I never saw that growing up.
No,
Ever.
me neither.
Nothing.
I thought honestly, I thought looking at a vagina was bad. Like, I thought,
Yeah.
like, it's a bad thing. And then talking about the hair, I don't know why
Yeah.
this just popped up in my head.
Yeah.
When I was, like, 14 or
Yeah.
15, I remember somebody was like, "You need to get a wax. Like, you need
Yeah.
to go get a
So
wax."
funny they're saying it. Yeah.
So I went to go get a wax and it was so bad. It was like so painful.
Yeah.
They were like, "Yeah, but if you get a wax, like the sex is going to be so much better."
I'm a sex educator. I don't even know if that's true because I was told that if you
Yeah?
take it all away that it's going to feel better, but
Like
like
you feel
I've
it more. But I feel like with hair, I
yeah.
feel like you kind of feel it more with hair.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like there's no right or wrong answer. Like if you want to wax at all, and sometimes I do it. But like but if you don't want it, you don't have to. Body hair,
Yeah.
like genital hair, that's normal. Like if you want to keep it there, keep it there. But like I know for me, like if I get a Brazilian, like if you rub the wrong way on
Yeah,
this,
it
it
hurts.
hurts.
Yeah, I just
That's
got mine today and I'm
yeah.
like, "Oh my god, I'm in pain."
Yeah.
Like I want to put some ice on there. And I'm like,
I
and I'm just like I'm not even having sex with anybody right now.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
It's
think I
for
just
you.
got a yeah, just for me, but I also got like accustomed to the waxing and I'm like, am I gonna let it grow? I don't know. I just
So I want to talk about your background a little bit because you're not a sex educator by trade, I guess, right?
no.
Yeah. So you kind of fell into it in a way?
Yeah. it's
Yeah.
so funny because like people ask me on TikTok like all these questions. I'm like, you
Yeah.
guys, I'm not a
Yeah.
certified sex
Yeah.
educator, but I do read a lot of books.
Yeah.
I can help you.
Like, can you like so I'm working toward like I've been teaching sex ed for a while, like in
Hmm.
different spaces. Like right now I teach about menstruation mainly with this charity in Toronto.
Hmm.
But anyways, you see like the second you start talking about sex online, like I know I already said like people are so hungry for
Oh,
information. It just shows there's a big gap. Like
yeah.
people don't you know what? I didn't ask you. I ask everybody when I start. How did you learn about sex?
Oh, how did I learn about
Ooh.
sex?
Can
Oh
you
my
break
god.
can you name like some people name like top 3 sources. Sometimes people name like there was a big moment where I
Yeah.
saw something, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I remember when I was young, uh, in New York, we had like these cable boxes, and
Yeah.
it was so funny. It was like these black cable boxes. I
Oh,
still
we had
remember.
oh,
Like
I
I was like 5 or 6. It was I
yeah.
don't I don't know, but there was a way that you could have like watched. There was like
Pay-per-view?
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
yeah. There was like a like a part of the channel where you click, and there just used to be like sex all day.
Yeah. Yeah, the porn
And
channels. Yeah,
I used
yeah.
to yeah, I used to just be like really in tuned into it.
Yeah.
But I just was like curious. I was very curious and I always wanted to know. And then I remember
Yeah.
one time like my mom, I don't know, somebody caught me and they're like, that's not good to watch. Like, don't
Yeah.
watch that. And
Yeah.
then as I got older, like fifth grade,
Mhm.
I'll never forget.
Mhm.
I was literally eating ice cream in school,
Mhm.
and I had like these three popular boys in my class,
Uh-huh.
and they used to say, "Oh, she's DSL," and I was like, "What the hell is DSL?"
Oh
Like,
my god.
I was like, "What does that mean?" And and then one of the guys, they were like, "Oh, you don't know what that means?" I'm like, "No." They're like, "That means you have dick sucking lips because they're
Ugh.
big." And
Yeah.
I'm like, what does that even like? I was only 10, and I was like, what does that mean?
Did you know what
No, I
like a
didn't
dick
know.
Oh, wow.
I didn't
Okay.
know what that meant at all. And then after I started figuring it out because I started hanging out with these boys,
Yeah.
and then they would talk about like sex, and I was like, oh my god, we're all like 10 years, literally in fifth
I
grade.
know, yeah. Yeah.
And so like from there, that's how I was exposed to like sex.
I was gonna say, like, I know for me, because you're talking about sex so openly as an adult, and like
Hmm.
that's and sometimes like I get told a lot, like, oh, that's really hard to do. It's really hard. It's so natural. Like I
Yeah.
love to talk about it. So I wonder if like and I use the term sex nerds because I'm
Hmm.
around like people in my program, we're just talking about sex all day and everyone's so
Yeah.
open that like do you think you were like a born sex nerd? Like
You
were you
know,
ever really shy?
no, I'm. You know what's so crazy?
Mhm.
I think honestly, I think deep down inside, I was born to like talk about sex or
Yeah.
something because in the lunchroom, it started off like in fifth grade, and I was like kind of intrigued with like these boys what they used to talk about.
Yeah.
And then when I went to high school, every time for lunch, we would just talk about sex. And but I was always with the boys. It was like maybe like five boys and like two of us girls, and we would just
Yeah.
like hear their stories. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, like you guys are like they were like only 14, and the guys used to be like, yeah, I had sex with this girl on the beach, and I was like, oh my god, like how did you guys do it in the beach? And I'll never forget. I'll never forget. I asked this one kid, like I would just ask questions to all the boys, and I was like, how do you know when she's good, or how do you know when you're about to come? And they
Yeah.
didn't know. They didn't know these questions. They didn't know the
Yeah.
answers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you guys talk about this every day, so how don't you guys know? And I was like, something is missing here.
So they didn't answer? I wanna know.
No,
How did
they
they
didn't
know when a girl
answer.
yeah.
They just didn't
Yeah.
answer. And I was like, is it the way that she moves? And
Mhm.
then if you think about it, we're only like 15, 16 talking about this, so we're really young. So
Yeah.
now I kind of like want to meet up with these boys when I'm older and ask them,
Yeah.
like, are you guys educated more about sex? Like, because
Oh,
at that age, we're just having sex and we
yeah.
don't know what the hell we're doing.
Yeah, like, for me, like, I learned about sex, like, I didn't learn in school properly, so I don't know what sex ed was like in New York,
Oh,
like
Harlem.
yeah, and it wasn't great in Toronto either. I went to a Catholic school too, so it was abstinence-based, so it was
Oh,
like,
wow.
just don't do it, basically, and then if you do, all these bad things can
It's a
happen, like
sin, right?
diseases and, like, what unwanted
Oh, you hear me?
pregnancy,
I'm
what
like, it's a sin.
yeah, it's a sin, it's dirty, it's wrong, so I learned from, like, movies,
Yeah, movies,
porn,
porn, yeah.
music videos were
And
huge.
and I learned from magazines. I would never
Yeah.
forget magazines, yeah. Magazines was a big thing for me.
I don't even, what's really funny when I ask this question to people, see, you're young, so I'm
Mhm.
surprised you're saying it because I think I'm like 10-ish years older than you. But
Uh-huh.
like when I ask people that are older, how'd you learn about sex? Like they're like magazines. You go
Yeah,
into
magazines. I'll never
yeah,
forget.
like a convenience store and they're on the top rack and you're like, oh, what the hell? Like,
Mine's
oh yeah.
I think mine's is pretty funny. Mine's is like I like in where I'm at in Brooklyn, there's like a lot of lotto stores, like where people
Yeah.
play lottery. So
Yeah.
I always forget. My mom always used to go to a lottery store every single day, and I used to go with her. And then in the back, like there's like a whole section of magazines, and I would always look at these girls with big boobs
Yeah.
and nice bodies. So I was like, oh my god, I want to be like that girl.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would open it up and then I would see like fresh things and I'll
Yeah.
just keep skimming it while she's like doing her lottery because she used to be there for a minute.
Hmm.
And I don't know how she most likely knew that I was like looking at it.
Yeah.
Or she used to just tell me like, why are you looking at it? But I would
Yeah.
still find a way to like I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is interesting.
Like, I always wonder, is everybody else wired like that? Like, and I think most people are.
Yeah,
Like,
and they just hide it.
and you hide it. And like, I think for me, it sounds like you, and there's like some other people that come pop up in my life that like you just can't like you can't contain it. You're like, I have to
Yeah, I'm
talk
just
about
like,
it. I want to hear about it. Like,
yeah, that's how I am
I want to
too.
learn. Like, and I'm asking genuinely. I want to know. Like, how do you know a girl's good in bed? I'm not going to use it
Yeah.
against you. I just want to
Yeah,
know.
yeah, I was just like, "I just wanna know," and he was just like I'll never forget, he was like, I don't know," and I was like, "Man, you guys talk about this every day, like,
Yeah.
come on."
Oh, I wanted to ask you about what you think about this because
Mhm.
in your videos, and I encourage everyone to watch them, you talk like really openly about masturbating a lot. And
Yeah,
like women don't often, it's still so taboo. And we
yeah,
did like a big unit on like masturbation and we focused on women and masturbation and how
mhm, it helps.
like it can help with body image, it can help with self-esteem, confidence, empowerment. And when women like pick a word, like when they describe how they feel
Mhm.
like after figuring out how to master, because we have to figure it out. Like I know men have to figure it out too,
Yeah,
but like you think like, am I supposed to finger myself and that feels good? And then like it's like a total opposite thing you're supposed to do. Like what the hell is a
mhm.
clitoris? You don't even know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so when women like describe like this is how I like felt when I figured it out. They use words like empowerment,
Mhm.
powerful, confident, like, and I don't know if people really understand, or I guess people without vulvas, people
Yeah,
without like men or whatever, understand how closely linked it is to your self esteem. Like,
mhm.
because you don't like everything you see is just like penis, vagina, that's sex, that's
Yeah.
supposed to feel good. And then when you actually figure it out, like,
When I figured out, I was like
you're like, uh,
I
yeah,
don't need a man. That's all I
yeah,
said. I was like, I don't
yeah,
like. I was just like, wow, this is what I like. It takes me like a few minutes for me to, to feel better, and then to get my orgasm, and then I'm like over here trying to get into a relationship, trying to talk to a
yeah,
guy, all for
yeah.
this that I can do quickly and not get hurt. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, like you'll spend 6 months talking to a guy, and then you do it, and then something falls off, and I'm like, wow, like yeah, I'm just better off using my toy.
Yeah.
But I do have a problem
Why?
because I
Why?
can only use toys. I can't like use my fingers.
You can't kick it old school. Yeah. I saw some video where this girl was like, I try to pretend that I'm like an old pilgrim from like a million years ago. Like she
It's
tried.
so hard.
Yeah. I
It's
don't know.
hard.
You can't use your fingers at all? Ever?
I've tried, but it's like like I don't know, it's just not there. I don't know if I'm like already getting used to like the whole vibrator. And I'm like, I remember like literally the other day, I was like, I don't know what got into me. I was like, oh my God, I need my vibrator. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just like, something's going on. I'm like, I need that sensation.
Yeah.
And then once I got it, I was like, wow, I feel so much better. Like,
Yeah.
am I,
Well,
I'm
if you're
like, am I
thinking like
becoming an addict? Am I
no.
becoming an
Well, I mean, okay, I mean, I can't diagnose you. I'm not gonna say if there
Yeah.
if you have a genuine concern, like, oh my god, my clitoris can only respond to vibrators now, like that's not true.
No, yeah, I
Like,
don't think
yeah,
that's true.
it's fine. Like, it can respond to other things. You have a preference,
Yeah.
and like, it can get it done that way. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask, okay, so I wanted to get your opinion on this thing. So
Okay.
in one of my classes, when we're talking about masturbation,
Mhm.
okay, my professor started the lesson by saying, he goes, I came out. He goes, I came out as a masturbator when I was 23, and I
Mhm.
told my friend,
Mhm.
and his friend denied it. And he said, "Oh, I never masturbated in my life." And he's like, "I came out again for a second time to somebody else." And I thought it was so funny that I was like, "Why is he saying come out? Like that's so strange. Like isn't it implied that everyone's like masturbating?" So I'm like talking about it with my classmates. I'm like, "Did you think it was funny that he was
I
saying
said
like
that.
coming out of the closet almost to say that he was a masturbator?" And then one of my classmates was like, "When did you publicly tell people when did you
Oh,
tell
okay.
people that you masturbated publicly?" And I was like, I never have. Like, I
Yeah,
never did
I forgot
that, you
about it.
know? So, like, I don't know, in your
I
opinion,
feel
would you say,
ashamed. I think a lot of
yeah,
us feel ashamed to say that we did that.
yeah.
I
So it
think
is
that's
like a
what it is.
coming out in a way.
Yeah.
Did you
It's so
feel liberated when you said it? Like, because you say it
n-
so openly.
I say it now very openly, but before
Yeah,
I've never felt I felt like weird. I was like, "Oh my God, like this girl masturbates? That's weird. Like who masturbates?"
yeah. Everyone.
It's like,
But
yeah,
yeah,
everyone, but like when a girl does it, it's like
yeah,
it's so weird. Like I feel like it's very normal for men. Like even
yeah,
at a young age, they just whip it out in the shower, in the
yeah,
room.
yeah.
And then when a girl does it, it's like that's weird. Like she's weird.
Like, it's still frowned upon in a lot of
Mhm.
ways. Like, even in sex education, like masturbation isn't something that people necessarily want included in
Mhm.
sex education because they don't see the point of it. Like
Yeah.
it's not reproductive. So like it has nothing to do with penis, vagina, intercourse, making a baby. It is entirely pleasure based. Like so people are like, well, what's the point of it? Especially female masturbation. Because if
Yeah.
like you have a really set way, let's say, of how sex works, it's a penis goes into a vagina.
Mhm.
Explaining how a woman masturbates has nothing to do with a penis going in a vagina. So like parents and school
Yeah.
boards and like teacher whatever get really like keyed up about, well, what are you going to say? You're going to say you rub
Mhm.
your clitoris? Like that's so vulgar, you know?
It's such like a hard not it's not hard to talk about. It's just
Yeah,
like people just like make it very difficult. And I don't think a lot of people are very open-minded yet about masturbation.
yeah.
And it's
it
like, "Oh my God, we're already in 2022. Masturbate.
Masturbate already, god.
Masturbate. It feels good.
Yeah, and I
Do
think
it.
people really need to hear people say, especially women, like it feels good, it's
It feels
normal,
so good." I'm just like, "Oh my God."
I want to tell you about some clit stuff, and I want
Okay.
to see if it shocks you.
Okay.
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 So the clitoris was erased from all medical textbooks. It was removed, put
Whoa.
back, and then removed again because of immorality. So it appears, I think, around the 1950s they mention it.
Oh
So
wow.
before that, it was like they knew it existed, but they removed it.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. Why do you think? Like they're so threatened. It's
Well,
like
at that oh, it could you know what?
it's political.
It's
Like it.
because they know that the clit is very powerful, so
Yeah.
they don't want the females knowing how powerful they can
Exactly.
be, so they wiped it out.
Yeah. They
They
erased
wiped it
it.
out. They
And
wiped
then
it out.
some like male doctors come around and go, it was rediscovered like several times throughout medical history, basically.
And at that time, like the 1950s or 60s, that's when a doctor found out about the G spot, I think.
Okay, so doctors, whatever his name was, it's, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Like I can't, and I was just like reading about it too. It's 1982. So it's not even that
Okay.
long ago that it makes a big public,
Yeah.
and everyone starts talking about G spots. Even that's political, if you want to talk about that, because the clitoris basically has this long history or
Hmm.
herstory of like being erased, being
Yeah.
immoral,
I never
like,
knew that.
yeah, it's like
That's
it's
crazy.
medically even like doctors don't want it discussed.
Hmm.
Its only sole function, it is the only organ ever, its only function is pleasure. That's it. It doesn't do anything else but feel good. So
Hmm.
like
Yeah,
women,
they don't want women to know that.
yeah, because then it's like you can see why it's so liberating and empowering for women when they find it. And they're
Hmm.
like, "Oh my god."
They're
Like this,
threatened. The
yeah,
men
and
were
like people are
threatened.
threatened by it. So
That's
this
crazy.
guy discovers the G spot, or discovers whatever.
Hmm.
It's like 1982. I wonder if you know this, and I wonder how you feel about this, because like pleasure is pleasure and that's great. And everybody should be touching themselves and that's great. But
Hmm.
even the G spot is like kind of political in that it's so hard to talk about sex and not get political. Like it's so
Yeah.
hard to talk about sex and not talk about power. So this guy, this Doctor Golden Brad or something, getting
Yeah,
his
I
name
think
wrong.
something like that.
Yeah, he like
I know
says
something with a G.
it sounds like his research, and I can't remember the name of the article, and I'm gonna put it in the comments, I think. It almost sounds like he's found it. He says through research, but it sounds like he's done it with like his girlfriends. Like he's just like
Mm-hmm.
noodling around down there and is like, she ejaculated. Like it happened on me. Um okay, so then there's like this fixation with it for like a while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna
Everybody's
back
trying to
up.
find it.
Everyone's trying to find it. Okay, but I'm gonna back up even further. Do you know who Sigmund Freud is?
No.
Okay, so he's like a very famous psychologist, like
Hmm.
sex research psychologist person. And
Okay.
he does a lot of research on why people have sex, orgasm, stuff like that. And he's really misogynistic. And everyone
Okay.
like knows that now. But he wrote all kinds of research that said clitoral orgasms are immature orgasms. Okay, his words. Vaginal orgasms, like if something goes in your vagina, is a mature orgasm.
Wow.
Right. Okay, so he's been refuted now, but this goes on for so long until like basically like the even like the 80s that
That's so
like
stupid.
it's so stupid. So you see how like the G spot becomes political because all of these people are fighting to get the clitoris in textbooks. They're fighting to get it in schools. They're fighting to get like women to talk about it. It's
Mhm.
finally getting attention, and then the G spot comes out, and then it shifts women back to
Wow.
the. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Isn't
That's
that
like a whole
crazy?
like
It's a whole thing. Like you just think like sex is sex and it feels good. Like what's to get so worked up about? But it's like, damn, there's so many layers. Like,
mhm.
so saying to women, for like so much of like modern history, if you can't orgasm with a penis inside of you, something's wrong.
That's so
It's
bad.
it's so bad.
That's so
It's
bad.
yeah.
That's so bad.
And it's like
Man,
something
imagine
like
those women back
75%.
then.
Yeah. And it's just that's why I think even today it's like where we come from matters. Like our past matters. So when
Mhm.
women like you, as an example, are out there talking about your clitoris, talking about masturbating, talking about feeling, it's super political. Like people are gonna look at that and go like, "Oh my god, I can't believe she's saying that," or like, "Oh my gosh, talking about the clit." Like it's a big deal for people. Like
Yeah,
I don't know.
I got
Go on.
called nasty. I get called
Yeah,
nasty like all the time. already got called nasty a few times.
you did, eh?
Yeah. I was
I was
like,
gonna
damn.
ask you how you like
How do I feel?
if the feedback you get is like mostly positive.
So yeah, the
Neg-
feedback I get is positive. Like I get a lot of people call me like their big sister. I help
oh.
them. So that makes me feel good. But then I get some people where they're like, "Oh, you're weird. Like you're so weird and nasty. Like that's so weird." And then even
Yeah.
my mom is very closed off. She's a very closed
Hmm.
off woman. So,
Yeah.
I started off with the makeup and all these things. And I remember like when I first started talking about sex, she's like, "You don't think that I know what you talk about?" Like that, I forgot what she called it, but it was basically like that's some like not stupid, but I know that it was just weird for her. It was
Yeah.
something that
Yeah.
she just uncomfortable. Like, you just talk so much shit. So I was just like, you know what? You're in a different time period than me. We
Yeah.
have two different lifestyles. We're totally different. I'm more open. I'm a very open woman, and you're not.
Yeah.
So, but then I also have to remember about the way she was raised
Yeah.
and all these things. So I don't judge her.
Like my mom, I just recently found my podcast. Like I've been, yeah, and I was like scared.
Yeah, you
Um
get scared.
it's kind of scary because she's a bit she's closed off too, but she surprised me and was like, because after sex ed is all about adults, like adults getting education, because I feel like we got overlooked, like, and just
Mhm.
because you're older doesn't mean you know everything, especially when you
Yeah,
hit milestones like you're talking about, like pregnancy and like postpartum. You're in the dark, like nobody says
yeah, I was in the
anything.
dark. I felt
Oh
so.
my god, I want to tell you that, like, based on some of the studies I've seen and like what we discussed in class about like getting your sex drive back after having a baby, like we're told you can have sex after 6 weeks, but like most trials with couples say they're not having sex properly, regularly for
Yeah.
5 years.
Whoa.
Whoa.
You
Like,
know, God damn. I waited 6 months. I waited
yeah.
6 months, but I
Yeah.
always had like this pain. It's so weird. Like I feel like after I gave birth, like before I gave birth, I was like, oh my God, like my vagina, she was good. But then after I got like some pain down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I gotta, I gotta test her out.
Does this still hurt 4 years later?
Well, I haven't had sex. Like right now, I'm all doing the whole celibate
Oh.
finding. Yeah.
Oh, good.
So,
Oh, tell me about that. I didn't know that.
yeah, I've been celibate. I'm doing the whole healing process, girl, learning
Oh my
about
gosh.
me. It's going good. It's actually that's why I got into like toys and masturbation.
Yeah. Oh my
So,
god, back up and tell me like everything why you're doing this. I need to know.
so so after I broke up with Sophia's dad, which was when she was like 2, like maybe like a year and a half ago, I broke up
Okay.
with him.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not the type of girl to just go and have sex with anybody. Like, that's just
Mhm.
me. I really like to have. I feel like sex is such like a connection.
Yeah.
Like, it's so intimate. I just can't go and fuck somebody. Like,
Yeah.
it's really hard for me. Like, I have
Yeah.
to have a 1-to-1 with you.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? When I find the right guy, and not because I'm not gonna find the right guy, but somebody that I can connect with,
Yeah.
you know, he can satisfy me, then I'm good. But till then, I haven't really found anybody. So right now
Mm.
it's just me and my toy.
Oh, good
Me
for
and my
you.
rose. My rose.
Are you celibate like, yeah, I guess I see what you're saying. Like you're are you like refusing to hook up until you find someone? Are you saying like,
No, n-
okay.
no, it's more like I guess I guess I just haven't found the guy yet. Like nobody has
Yeah.
like it's just I'm okay with it too. I like
Yeah.
it because I feel like I really got to know myself. Like this one
Yeah.
year that I haven't had sex, I was like, wow, I really got to know myself, and I feel like I'm more open and comfortable with my body.
Like, I love that you're saying this because I think people get this idea about sex educators that we're
Mhm.
like sexed up constant. It's no, like it's people are complicated. Like people,
Yeah.
there's shades of gray. Like you go through things in your life and like there's going to be peaks and valleys. And if you're going through a point where you're like there isn't a partner in my life, I would much rather have toys, masturbate, do my own thing than hook up. Like I think it's really important that people hear that. Do you share that with your audience?
I do, but I think I have to share about it more because I notice like a lot of girls do go through. You know what it is? I also, I also like to protect myself, and I don't want to get
Yeah.
hurt. I just don't want to
Yeah.
get hurt. I just
Yeah.
like know that if I have sex with a guy,
Mhm.
and then I just feel like, yo, I spent all this time and effort with you for me to have, we're gonna have sex, and then it's just
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
you're gonna hook up with somebody else after. Like I want to know that we're gonna be a thing
Yeah.
and still be connected. More like a lot of these teenager girls. Like I feel like I went through that when I was a
Yeah.
teenager, And a lot of the like my followers, they're really young, and they're always saying like, I had sex with this guy, and then the next day he doesn't want to talk to me.
Yeah.
So I know that feeling, and I don't want to go through that feeling again.
And like with age comes like a lot of wisdom. You know what you want, you know
Hmm.
what you don't want.
Yeah, that's what I also learned. Like, I know what I
Yeah.
want, I know what like already, and I'm just like, wow. Like, now I feel like more confident with my body. Like, before,
Yeah.
one thing that I noticed was I always wanted to have sex in the dark,
Yeah.
use like the covers, and now I feel like if I were to have sex, like, during the daytime, I would be like, okay, like, let's do it, because, I'm ready. Yeah. So it's
I
really
always
crazy when taking the time off, you
yeah.
learn yourself.
No, good for you. I think like people don't like say that enough. That
Yeah.
like I don't know, like sex positivity to me or
Mhm.
like being like a positive sex yeah, sex positivity is about autonomy. It's about owning your own body. So
Yeah.
that means like you can have sex with whoever you want and you can also not have sex.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And that can go on as long as you feel like it. It's up to you. I think people just tend to get really pressed and like really keyed up about like sex positivity and sex positive people, sex educators, people talking about sex like as freely as you do. They're probably like, oh my God, the kids are like, you're telling kids all kinds of
Oh
crazy
man, she
messages.
got up.
Oh,
Let
oh,
me put
she's
it.
awake.
Oh, oh, she's gonna fall back to sleep. So yeah, but kids, and that's another reason why I talk about sex,
Yeah.
because a lot of people, a lot of the teenagers, and like tell me that they got knocked up like the first time they had sex, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. I know, right?
I'm like, oh my god, you girls are so young,
Yeah.
14. Like, you guys haven't even like, when I think about my age now that I'm in my mid 20s, I'm like, okay, now I'm living life a little bit. But
Yeah.
imagine at that age how hard it is because nobody really spoke to them.
Yeah.
So I feel like I want to be that girl, like to talk to girls.
I think it's like we were texting each other or messaging
Hmm.
each other before. Like I really do feel like sex educators or sex nerds, whatever I call them, it comes from a really warm, empathetic place. It's like I feel me, I know I can say it sounds like you too. I feel genuinely very badly for people
Yeah.
that don't know how their bodies work, that
Hmm.
get into situations like that. It's so preventable. Like it's so fixable. Or like I've had people messaging me saying like what is a clitoris exactly? Like I don't
Yeah.
know. And they're adult women and
Yeah.
they've
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
I get
like,
that message too. I'm
yeah.
like, oh my God, that's how like uneducated, like, you remember when you
Mhm.
asked about sex education in school? I only had
Yeah.
1 year out of, I went to school from kindergarten to
Mhm.
senior year, and
Yeah.
only 1 year I took a sex education class, and that was in middle school. And
Wow.
the only thing they taught me was STDs,
Yeah.
a vagina, and a penis.
Yeah.
And basically, that's all I know. That's all I remember. I didn't remember anything about getting infections.
No.
I didn't get anything. Oh, and how like the whole labor video.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my god. Oh my
But
god, so terrifying.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
all. But like getting deep into sex, I'm like, oh my god, like nobody told me this in school.
Or like or just like feelings because like when I talk about sex with kids, like I get a lot of questions like are you allowed to laugh during sex? Like do people
Yeah,
laugh? And that I find heartbreaking because like
yeah.
they don't it's very serious. Everything they're
Mhm.
hearing is really
Yeah.
scary. Like you can get pregnant and here's a labor video where she's screaming and crying.
Mhm.
You're like, "Oh my god."